Hello there, dear viewer. I'm Thijs from Varnish Software, and just like every week, I'd like to welcome you to a new episode of 2-Minute Tech Tuesdays, a weekly show published on Tuesday about Varnish technology presented to you in 2 minutes or less. This week, we're going to revisit the cloud. I've already done 3 episodes about running Varnish in the cloud. The first one was one about general concepts and how to run Varnish images in the cloud. Then I had one about AWS, I had one about Azure, and this week's episode is about Google Cloud Platform, or GCP. And as always, I'm putting 2 minutes on the timer and I'm going to tell you all about it. Our story starts on the Google Cloud Platform dashboard and more specifically on the VM instances overview. We already have a web server and we would like to cache that web server using Varnish, so we're going to click Create Instance to create a new Varnish instance. Instead of going for a new VM instance from scratch, we click Marketplace and type Varnish to get a Varnish instance. There's multiple images. We're choosing Varnish Enterprise 6 for Ubuntu, and we're launching the instance. In terms of settings, we're going to name it Varnish, and we're going to stick with the default values in terms of the zone, in terms of the hardware machine type, also in terms of the boot disk and storage, as well as the networking, because the networking settings and more specifically the firewall settings have been prepared and are part of the default image. It's just a matter of accepting the terms and conditions and deploying the machine. Once the deployment and provisioning of the server is finished, you can go back to the overview page to see your freshly created Varnish instance. Copy the public IP address, open up a new browser window and paste it to see the landing page. Click the Next Steps button to see a detailed configuration guide. Let's skip the configuration guide for now because we know exactly what we want to do. We want to access the server via SSH, and to access it, we need the IP address. We're going to use the SSH command, and in terms of credentials, we're going to rely on a pre-configured SSH key pair. You can configure that on the metadata page that is part of the settings category in your menu. The username that is associated with that key is going to be the username with which you access the machine. And in our case, that's Thijs. And once we're in, we're opening the default VCL file located in etc varnish default.vcl. We remove the placeholder line that displays the welcome page, and we're modifying the backend. We're using the IP address of the web server and connecting on port 80. Then we close the editor and run sudo systemctl edit varnish to edit the Varnish runtime parameters. Change the size of the cache from 256 megabytes to 2 gigabytes. You save and close that file and then run sudo systemctl restart varnish to restart the Varnish service. You can then go back to your browser and refresh, and the welcome page will be replaced with the actual cached content coming from the web server. And that was it. Pretty easy, pretty quick. You've just set up a Varnish server using the official machine image on Google Cloud Platform. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'd like to thank you for sticking around, and I'll see you next week for more content and yet another 2-Minute Tech Tuesdays.